Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake, and today we are discussing the Epstein files and the fact that 3 million of them are not scheduled to be released by the federal government, despite the fact that the law requires that they be released. Let's say hi to the gang first. Hello, HBX. Good to see you, my friend. I mean, there's no happy news that we're going to be talking about at any point for the next lifetime, but it does help us to make points when things are so obvious as this. We have yet to get a presidential administration. We've yet to get a political party that gives a damn about little kids getting diddled by the rich and powerful. But hey, there is something that I see within the current release that, if I am honest, is something I can spike the ball about. When, over the last couple of weeks, a number of times, I have said that where the left dropped the ball was QAnon. QAnon correctly identified the fact that there's a secret organization, formal or informal, of pedophiles running the U.S. government. It hurts for me to acknowledge that QAnon was correct about anything. But as we discovered with the most recent release of the Epstein files, that is by design. So, what happened is this. We discovered that Jeffrey Epstein, let me pull this up specifically. Jeffrey Epstein was a 4chan guy. Convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, this is according to Audacity.com. Sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was a gamer who liked to share 4chan links and once chatted with Elon Musk about coming to a wild party on his notorious island. Some notable revelations reported on so far have been highlighted. Let's see. These include new information about Epstein's relationship with Andrew Mountbatten, aka the former Prince Andrew, Musk, Virginia Group founder Richard Branson, and U.S. government officials. They also include information about Epstein's personal habits, including getting kicked off a gaming platform and his connection with the infamous 4chan message board. Epstein visited the sprawling messages of 4chan, a message board site founded by the then 15-year-old Christopher Poole in 2003. The forum was intended to be an English language version of the Japanese forum 2 channel, where Japanese comics, manga, and cartoon series in particular were discussed. Explained research from Sal Hagen of the University of Amsterdam. Let me pull this up, actually. Oh, sorry, Pink. We are not watching Holy Mackerel this time. Here we are. Do we have this? We've got it. Let's judge a little bit and do a little judging. Yeah, it's not bad. That's even better. Ah. Okay. It quickly developed into a broader platform for all kinds of topics. 4chan was the birthplace of numerous internet memes, but also became controversial due to the distribution of illegal content and announcements of shooting incidents that took place in real life. Epstein sent his last known girlfriend, Karina Shuliak, an email in 2017 with a link to a 4chan thread featuring user-made pornographic videos of the animatronic characters from the horror video game Five Nights at Freddy's, the spectators said. Its subject was amazing animations. An email to a redacted recipient was included in the release with the subject line and a 4chan link. Okay, so why am I obsessing over the 4chan thing? Because that is where a ton of QAnon activity began. For a long time, I've been trying to make y'all aware of the fact that with the current setup of America, you don't have to uh, pay people to say things that you want said. You don't have to go find somebody from the crowds and write them an email saying, "Hey, look, I want you to change the direction of what you're talking about," or "Hey, look, I want you to start spreading some conspiracy theories that are totally unfounded." All you have to do is find people who are spreading conspiracy theories in the direction that you want, and then fund them. You can fund them by buying ads. You can have a company that is ultimately owned by one of your companies 100 times down, so you're not directly connected on paper to it, but you can have them start advertising with that person. You can simply buy bots to attend their shows. You can have those bots watch passively, not even add to the comments if you want. There's a hundred ways you can do that, but let me tell you, the effect can be exactly what happened between progressives and what became MAGA. QAnon, I believe, predates the MAGA movement, but it was basically one and the same for a time there. And progressives did not listen to them because they were very publicly wrong about things that I would have thought were obvious. You could tell at a glance that it was nonsense. So, for example, the cheese pizza code thing, or the idea that Donald Trump was somehow hinting at you that he was going after the pedos, but he just couldn't outright say it. Things like that, to me, seemed obvious. However, there was a lot of effort put into Q drops and other such things to make it seem legitimate to a certain group of people within their standard of beliefs. The effect of that was that I didn't push very hard for anybody to go after a group of pedophiles in the government. Boy, I wish I had. Could have gotten rid of a lot of the worst Dems. Could have had anybody other than Trump in office right now. I wish I would have, but it's clear to me why I didn't. The voices that were amplified were the ones that turned what should be an easily agreed upon issue into an argument. Because we would say, well, obviously Hillary Clinton is not drinking a chemical harvested from a dying child. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They would hear us defend Hillary Clinton. That's what they thought they were hearing. Oh, these guys love Clinton. Of course, we're not gonna get anywhere with them. They don't care about kids. They love Clinton. But what we heard was just they don't care about kids. They just love lies. Basically, they love obvious lies. They don't have any care for children at all. They're just looking for a reason to attack Democrats. And you can see that that's what's happening because here they are talking nonsense, harvesting chemicals from tortured children. That's stupid. It's not even a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of efficiency. And you can tell that it doesn't make any sense. You could look up what adrenochrome is and tell that it doesn't make any sense. It got to start as a popular a substance in pop culture from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The movies, not real life. That's what we thought, and now here we are. We have the diddler in chief in the Oval Office, and nobody can hold their head high about this because all this information passed through both a Republican and Democratic administration, and we're still here. Alan Barnes says, "Don't waste my time. Never have. Never would intentionally." Well, they want to believe. Possibly. Hello, Pinkerbell. Hello, Nina Canadian. True Blocks. Good to see you. Hey, and thank you. Thank you for donating. I truly appreciate it, my friend. Honestly, I'm hurting for dollars right now, so I do appreciate any monetary assistance. But I don't need it. Not from you. I just need your ear. Here's why. I don't ask Republicans to start agreeing with my politics because I don't think you will. I do think you have a wrong idea of what my politics are, and I do think that's causing you to behave in ways that are destructive to yourself. But I think when you do understand what my politics truly are, you still won't agree with them. So I'm not asking you to agree with my politics. I'm fairly confident nobody in my audience, nor I, am going to agree with your politics. But again, that's not why I've asked you here. That's not why I'm streaming to 2 locations. I am asking you here so that we can both, within our own parties, take control. As you have seen with these Epstein files, you don't have control within your own party. They still lie to you. As you've seen with Kristi Noem, they still lie to you. Tom Homan, they still lie to you. And I'm not going to pretend like our parties are better. Chuck Schumer lied to us recently, twice. He told us he was going to vote one way. He told us he was going to do nothing to fund the government. Again, I'm not asking you to agree with what we wanted here, but what he told us was he was going to do nothing to fund the government as long as ICE was terrorizing Minneapolis. And then what did he do? He turned around and voted to fund it. It wasn't until Lindsey Graham threw a temper tantrum about not getting her bribe, the funding was momentarily stalled. The point is not to get you to agree that we ought not to have funded it. The point is for you to realize our people are lying to us and we see it. I don't like that Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries or especially Gavin Newsom are our people. I want them out of this party. And if we can't get them out of this party, then I want a new party that they are not allowed in. But don't let that make you think, if you are a conservative, that you have control over your party, because no, you do not. We have seen Kristi Noem lie to you about important things recently, and then, surprise, surprise, it was so obvious that she got fired or demoted or whatever the hell. Same thing with Greg Bavino. He lied to you because you were the one he needed to convince. He lied to you, American public, about what happened with the Alex Preddy shooting. And even if you think it's okay to behave the way ICE behaves, obviously I don't. Actually, I think we should abolish all of ICE, but you don't have to think that to acknowledge the fact that Bavino gave you wrong information. Why did he do that? I'm trying to remember the English phrase. There is a phrase that the English, like the British military, uses, and it's something like lions led by donkeys. I don't think that's what ICE is. I don't consider them lions, but I do agree that they're led by donkeys. They There was a comment that a right wing person left the other day that has stuck with me for a long time, and not for the reasons that I think the commenter intended. The comment was, "Now it's our turn," in reference to January 6 people getting punished for their crimes. And the thing that bums me out about it is the fact that if you would have been in progressive chats before now, you might have heard us give an opinion you wouldn't expect to hear. And it's not that we didn't think that the January 6 participants, the rioters, should be jailed. We did. I certainly did. I think it's a shame that anybody got a pardon for that, because they killed cops and behaved. I mean, it was an insurrection. It was what it was. But I would have preferred lenient sentences for them and strict sentences for people that weren't even charged, because they got lied to. They got lied to every step of the way, including Trump saying, "I'm going to go down there with you," because he didn't. But why would he say, "I'm going to go down there with you"? Well, it gives it legitimacy, doesn't it? Makes it seem less like a crime if a politician, the acting president at the time, the outgoing president at the time, walked down there with you. That makes it seem like a legitimate thing, doesn't it? But he didn't go there with you, did he? On his way out of office that first time, he could have done a blanket pardon for everybody involved, and it would have only cost him a couple of negative headlines in the press. With ICE, I see the same thing. Not just that you think you're taking revenge by, instead of having the law fairly enforced against people that deserve it, having the law broken by law enforcement in the form of assaults and murders on innocent protesters. And if that's enough to satisfy you, I would ask you, why do you not have any interest in our leaders? And I think the answer to that you'll find is that there are no leaders. of these protests. This is just the feeling of America. But it's more than that. When I see people on my side talking about ICE agents, it's not that I disagree with any critique they have of these ICE agents. It's not that I even, well, yeah, I mean, that's as on the nose as it can be. I don't disagree with what they're saying. It just worries me that it's usually me that has to extend the conversation to say, who told them to be there? Who gave them these insane quotas to try to fill? These quotas, which we have seen demonstrated, are impossible to fill. Who dangled $50,000 in front of them? And then when they showed up to collect, said, well, that's $50,000 over 5 years. That's $50,000 that you only get if you hit certain numbers, if you don't get sent home, if you are healthy enough to stay on the job, even though we're going to send you into 15-degree weather and make you do your own shopping for your gear, even though you're not from the place that you're going to. Here's a list of brands we recommend. You spend your own personal time unpaid to go figure out which of these will work in negative 15-degree weather. I'm not trying to get anybody, especially horizontal folks or vertical folks, to have sympathy for ICE agents. They are, in my opinion, murderous. They are, in my opinion, well aware of the fact that what they're doing is immoral, and they are gleefully doing immoral things. I think they are, in short, the worst of us. But that makes them very useful to me for making points, particularly making points about how the working class are treated. I did a video before the ICE raids even heated up. And it was titled "The Slave Catchers Are Working Class." Doesn't mean I like slave catchers, but it does mean that when we talk seriously and dispassionately about what actually we are seeing, it becomes very clear that all of this is just a hustle. All of this, all the sorrow in our lives, it's artificial. Doesn't mean it doesn't really hurt, but it means it doesn't have to happen. Never did. And it is caused by the ultra rich, who we are told have any redeeming value at all, and they don't. They're just thieves. CRXR. Oh, an advocate is pointing out something. Democrats are immoral. Agreed with Matthew Roman. They collectively, I'm sorry, I missed the they. HBX, I wonder if they are treating them so bad to make them more aggressive on the streets. Yes, I think that's intentional. I think they are intentionally hoping that those amongst us who are the least experienced and are the most self-conscious about not having participated, let's say, will try to make up for their self-consciousness about not having gotten involved and seeing something horrific, that they agitate naturally within our groups and try to convince people to say and do stupid things. I am thinking of the people that wore skull bandanas to protests of the during the Black Lives Matter movement. I remember seeing those people and think, there's a person that does not care about the well-being of their fellow citizens. There's a person that does not care about the reasons why we're here. There's a person that is cosplaying in the same way that I see conservatives put on a bunch of hunting camo and pretend to be soldiers. They're insincere believers, and I think that's people that look like that are going to start turning up if we're not careful. Back to Matthew Roman. Democrats are immoral. I agree. This is part of the reason I want so badly for both of us, both sides that we know disagree with each other, to work together a little bit at the very least, if nothing else, to offer your insights and opinions because we got to take these punks down. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Gavin Newsom, at times Alyssa Slotkin, not always. But I could name a dozen Democrats here, if it wouldn't bore you to tears, that are immoral. Straight up, I could name 3 criminals off the top of my head. Hell, I'll name 4. Both Democrat presidents during my lifetime, then Bob Menendez, then Eric Adams. Trump, incidentally, gave pardons to those last 2. Back to this. CRXR says, but it was fine under Obama holding children in dog kennels under bridges, deporting more people than any other president. The selective outrage is very telling. That's one of the biggest problems I have with you, CRXR. And I don't think it's your fault. It's not. But it is a problem I have with you that I need you to work on correcting. And I'll do the same for my side. I'm not going to do the whole spiel this time. You'll just have to take my word for it. But every other stream, oh no, I did do it this time. I just now did it. Every other stream I've had as well, I have gone out of my way to call Barack Obama a criminal. And I have done so because I believe that to be true. It was not fine that I don't know about. I didn't even hear about the dog kennels under bridges. I'm unaware of that. And after having read the book read the synopsis of the book that was recommended to me about somebody who claims to have had a gay affair with Obama, you'll understand if I'm somewhat wary of your claims when you just toss them out there like that. But the deporting more people than any other president, I know to be true. And I got to tell you, I've been outraged about that. I have been outraged the entire time. Progressives, in other words, are not Obama fans because we see the same, well, the things you see that are real, the things you see that there is actual proof of, we see them as well. And we care about those things. And the news media, or whatever media we are on, goes out of its way to not show you us making those critiques, giving you the impression that we don't have those critiques, that we don't care about such a thing. I think that's by design. Don't you? I think that's something that is probably happening in the other direction. I think you probably have some morals that I am not giving you credit for because I've never seen them. I don't know how to fix that except to get on here and keep trying to talk to you. But let me start by telling you, the far left of this country, the people you know, the Democrat politicians you know, are almost certainly centrist. They are almost certainly conservative leaning, slightly, in terms of their policies. And that will be a shock to you, I know. But if you think of socialist commies or whatever, and then I ask you to name them, I just assume you're going to be like, well, Joe Biden, obviously. Obama, he was a black guy. Who else? Nancy Pelosi, the lady. These are all deeply conservative people. And they are all people. The fact that they're conservative isn't why you should dislike them. But you should dislike them because they try to get left-leaning votes. So they lie, in other words. They're liars. And when I say they're conservative, they're in their hearts, I don't know what they are. They put forth conservative policies. They fight left-leaning policies. They look for opportunities to pass policies that give tax breaks to the rich and F over poor people. And I need you to try to put up with my annoyingness for as long as you can, because there is a political group in America full of just millions of people, CRXR, who I think need your perspective. Um, and you'll find that they agree with you on a hell of a lot of things. One thing that you will definitely have them agreeing with you about is the fact that Obama, he actually didn't deport more people than any other president, but the person who did deport the most, I think, was Biden. You know what? Let me look that up. I don't know this. I'm just assuming it might not have been Biden. It might have been Obama. Which U.S. president deported the most people? If it is Obama, again, I have to say I'll thank you, because I work very hard to try to talk to centrist types and not seem like a ranting crazy person. So if there's anything that gives me, if you give me any statistic like that, that's easy to rattle off, I'm happy. So I was just now, and because it makes me happy, I have to double check. Just now, I was thinking it might be Biden that deported more people, but the thing we've been saying for a while is that it was Obama. Uh, well, we're counting both terms, but whatever, that's fine. Throughout 8 years in office, the Obama administration logged more than 3.1 million ICE deportations, according to Syracuse's Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse. The peak was the fiscal year 2012, when more than 407,000 people were removed. By comparison, the first Trump administration maxed out at deporting 269,000 in 2019. All right. And yes, across 4 years, the Trump administration recorded fewer than 932,000 deportations. So there you go. Thank you, CRXR. Obama deported 3.1 million human beings. Not exactly a kind man. I don't think there's going to be any argument there. Not exactly a kind guy. What hurt so badly about Obama, I can tell you from personal experience, is what I believe you are experiencing right now with Donald Trump. What hurt so badly about Obama was the fact that he promised change. Very specifically, his slogan was change. Did you know that Ashley Babbitt voted for Obama before she died for Trump? Did you know that? Did you know that in 2016, all of the Michigan counties that voted for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primaries turned around and voted for Trump in the general election? There is something that can be gleaned from this, and that is that we are, as the American people, particularly those that care the most, whether we are correctly informed or not, those that care the most recognize that fundamental change is needed to the way America operates. Obama promised that, and he kept saying it'll be a little bit later. It's going to be down the line. Oh, you're going to have to wait and see how this pans out. He didn't end wars, though. He didn't stop giving tax breaks to the rich. Actually, he just devastated the national debt by doing huge bailouts to banks rather than giving people the money to pay off their loans when the banks were going to collapse. Because he promised what he promised and then didn't deliver, he left you with the impression that this centrist Democrat playbook was what we wanted. So that now I get people on here calling me a leftist liberal cuck when in fact liberal doesn't make any sense there. You can't be a leftist and a liberal. A liberal is a center right person, basically. Um, but Obama was a liberal. So was Biden. And so was probably every other politician you've heard of. And again, I even if you understood their politics and my politics, I don't think you'd agree with either one. I certainly don't agree with theirs. But you wouldn't agree with mine either, and that's fine. It is okay. But you should know the lies that they're telling you, and you should try to avoid the same fate that happened to progressives. Because I'll tell you, you do not want to be you don't want to be in 5 years what we were in 2015, which is where you're headed. Actually, where we were in 2017, which is where you're headed. A bunch of people are going to see what Trump has done, thinking that's what you want because you vocally supported him while he was doing stupid ass things that were against your interests. And because you were afraid, I guess, to be critical at the time, I don't know why in America we behave the way we do around our politicians, but because of the way you're behaving now, your ideology is going to carry the weight of Trump's mistakes. And that's not fair to your ideology. Again, I disagree with your ideology, but I don't want it misrepresented. There's an answer for this, though. And there's a pattern you and I must both follow. And all the good folks in the horizontal chat, and all you sons of Yakub in the vertical chat, you filthy devils and I, we must all follow the same thing, which is don't let liars through the primary. Yes, Matthew Roman. Immigrants, not illegal immigrants, but all immigrants are being treated as slaves and ICE as the slave catchers. Although when I said the slave catchers were working class, I was referring to police. Um, well, actually, I was referring to the literal slave catchers back in the day. I think that's a fine analogy to make now that immigrants, which you have summed up as illegals, I think because it makes you feel better about the way they're being treated. But as we've seen, the majority of people arrested are not illegal immigrants; they're just immigrants. Um, let's get coherent. Private prisons make a profit off having bodies in them. Alligator Alcatraz is one such prison. They make profits by holding these folks. And slave catchers work for those prisons. They supposedly work for the government these days, but they are there to supply the prisons with bodies, and they get you, or rather, media gets you calling these people illegals, so that you don't have to. You're able to look in the mirror without getting nauseous when you realize what they're doing to these folks. And I think probably they work very hard not to show you the torture, not to tell you about the guy that got his testicle crushed, or the men that were raped by prison guards, or the little kids, the children that are being held there for months, told to sleep out in a courtyard surrounded by a bunch of strangers that they don't know. Um, they get you saying that so that we are and not seeing that stuff, so that it smoothly allows them to get their slaves in the fields, as it were. But I meant when I did that video, I meant literally slave catchers, people who would say, "Hello, my profession is I catch slaves." Back in the 1860s, as vile a creature as that person is, the fact is they were also working class. Again, I'm not asking anybody to think of these folks gently. I am not gonna do that, certainly. But assess what information they're hearing, assess what they're being told, and make your plans based around who the people arranging these conflicts are. Because even though these are people participating in amoral conflicts or immoral conflicts, they're not the people who are arranging them. The people who are arranging them are the enemy. All right, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna jump down through so many comments just to try to catch up to somebody who's left something, recently. Ooh, now, come on, man, 3639 makes an interesting point. Jews. Not sure where you're going with that, mister. That's ugh. Phoenix rises. It's actually worse than you say. Democrats supported deporting illegals until 2016. Then in 2017, when Trump started doing the same thing, they started defending illegals and demanding they be allowed to stay. Again, you're using the word illegals to try to soothe your own soul. And I got to say, you're going to hell no matter what. I'll be there. You'll have interesting company at the very least. But insulting people who are being harassed will not, it'll make you feel momentarily better, but you'll also feel a little piece of your soul wither every time you do that. But separate from that, assuming you meant literally illegal immigrants, Democrats did not just support deporting them until 2016. They supported allowing there to be less immigrants altogether. Um, and you are wrong about the second thing. When Trump started doing the same thing, they started defending, I assume you mean illegal immigrants, and demanding they be allowed to stay. Also not true. Some some Democrats had always uh, been a little bit more libertarian leaning about the whole thing, saying, yeah, it shouldn't be that hard to move to this country. What happened actually was you were shown the Democrats who disagreed with you. When it was so you were only shown us, basically, uh, when it was, convenient to rile you up. That's basically it. And I'm sure the same thing happened with you to us. I'm sure we are shown the worst of you right before election time, just like you're shown the best of Democrats right before election time. Because the best of Democrats wanted immigrants to be treated like human beings. The best of Democrats are progressives, and they believe in the words on the Statue of Liberty: "Give me your poor, give me your tired," etc., etc. I don't know the rest of the thing. Tempest tossed. Give me your tempest tossed. Yeah, we believe in being decent, but no, we have to fight our own party constantly because our party is dumb enough to think that they will win your vote with cruelty. When in fact, I think all that's necessary to win a certain percentage of your vote is honesty. But of course, a centrist Dem can't be honest because if you're a centrist, the only thing you actually believe in is thieving U.S. Citizens for money, taxing them to death, or simply not providing services to them so that they have to pay out of their own wallets and giving tax breaks to the rich. Here it is. Some dumb beats 9879 says, really, both parties paid by the same people. You can't have democracy with capitalism. I again partially agree. First part of that, no notes. Both parties are literally paid by the same people. Pause. Somebody said, of Andrew Cuomo, Yeah. A lot of folks. I'm sorry, I can't pull up the article. I don't recall where I saw this. Um, Let me try this again. Cuomo voters said they only donated for access. Maybe that's what they said. Do you guys know what I'm talking about in the horizontal chat? Well, whatever. The point I'm making is that there was a dude that donated to Andrew Cuomo's campaign. Andrew Cuomo was a right wing pick in the New York mayoral race. And he said, the donor said, whoa, 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 don't, like, he was getting interviewed about, like, what do you agree with about Cuomo? And he said, no, I don't agree with Cuomo on anything. I just thought he was going to win. So I donated to him so I could do business in the city. Uh, Warren Buffett donates to both parties. Bill Gates donates to both parties. Tim Cook donates to both parties. It's just a hustle. That's all. The average billionaire donates to both parties. They are the only thing they care about is that neither a progressive nor a MAGA candidate that refuses to take their bribes gets elected. That's what they are trying to make sure happens. And that, incidentally, is why I've gathered you here today and every day. Because no matter what your politics end up being, which again, I know in the general, we're going to be against each other. That's fine. If you listen to this stuff, you learn who progressives are more. It's actually going to be easier for you to run in the general because you will have more insight in how to hurt us. I'll take that. Because what's more important is that you and I stop letting the liars through the primaries. In my own state, I just found out tragically, Mallory McMurrow is leading a guy named Abdul Al Said. Now, you're not going to agree with either of their politics, but let me tell you, Mallory McMurrow is the worst choice because she lies. She pretends to give a shit about the things that progressives believe in, but what she actually does is take money from billionaires. Abdul Al Said does not. That's on me. I won't be able to tell what's going on in your state. So we've got to take control of our own parties. In other words, I won't be able to tell when somebody is going against your morals. I'm going to hear the bad thing they're saying and think, of course, that's what MAGA thinks, and then be mad about something that is not even true. I can only show you how people lie, and hope that you will take care of the rest, or tell me about it, and we can do something public together. Can't have democracy with capitalism. I partially agree. Robert Reich would say there are some things that capitalism should not be involved with, and I certainly agree with that. You should not have capitalism determine what decisions are made on a police force, for example. Your police should not depend on how wealthy the people around you are. The policing is something that must be done everywhere to minimum standards. Military, same thing. You should not There should not be privatization touching the military because again, regardless of how wealthy a certain area is, the whole nation needs a strong military if it has a military at all. Hospitals and healthcare generally, I would extend that to. Elections, crucially, what you're talking about, I would extend that to. That should not be something where big money is allowed to infest it, because otherwise it's just going to be a show for rich people that you and I are forced to put on. Man, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. You got to go easy on me. Don't send Knuckles by again. It's just going to slow me down. I don't know who's making stuff up. I'm sorry. Ah, I see. Joe DePoe says he only cares about the semantics of an argument. No, not so. I do care about the heart of an argument. But I've noticed a problem that both of us have. I'll show you Sam Cedar, my personal hero, missing something big in a little bit. But there's a problem that happens where people hand wave the details. Like how, for example, I hear the right wing often saying, "We're just getting rid of illegals. What's all the big deal?" Well, you're not. You're getting rid of folks that are here legally. You're torturing them until they agree to leave of their own volition, like capturing somebody who is legally here, had permission to be here, is in the process of applying for citizenship, which takes a long time in America. It takes years in America. We intentionally made that difficult. And they get snatched up by ICE and held in a room, a freezing room, with just one of those emergency weather blankets. They're fed meals with worms in them in the Texas Dilley detention center. And they're held indefinitely, except every day they're told, look, if you agree to just get out of this country and stay out, uh, you can leave. We're not going to keep you here. We'll send you to some other country. I don't know where, but somewhere other than here. That's not just semantics. That's a fundamentally different thing. That's not getting rid of an illegal. That's just rounding up brown folks. It's not only the semantics, but we do that as well. I've heard I have heard leftists with the best of intentions misidentify what was happening right in front of their faces because it was so important to them to hold on to an untrue point that they just arbitrarily said. Thank you, Computer Fizz. I am a fan of the gray suit. Tim Roberts says, yes, that's what I said. We have aspects of democracy, but we are structured so the mob doesn't rule and you don't have your rights trampled on. We're supposed to be. As of now, we have Americans getting murdered in the street for practicing their First Amendment rights to blow a whistle, murdered in the street for practicing their Second Amendment rights to own a gun. We're not very good at living up to what we're supposed to be, and we never have been. And if you do anything that bothers a billionaire, you can accept that your life is in danger because it is. Some dumb beat says we should have mob rule. Well, I agree we should have direct democracy. I think we should vote on the people should vote on most bills. Did you not see the news? Oh yeah, it's the same fellow in the different chat. That's pretty cool though. Or wait, no, maybe. Oh, sure. Name one person murdered for blowing a whistle. That'd be Kyle Petit. What? No, excuse me. Alex Preddy. He was murdered for his Second Amendment and First Amendment rights. He was initially uh, uh, in conflict with the police because a lady next to him blew a whistle, and she got shoved down in the snow. And when he helped her out of the snow, he reached his hand down and pulled her up. He was swarmed, maced, thrown to the ground, beaten, and then shot 10 times in the back after his gun was removed from his waistline. Yes, he did. He showed up blowing a whistle and screaming. I don't know what to tell you. He was amongst those groups who responds to blowing whistle. Renee Good also. But let me ask you something sincerely, Tim Roberts. Does it not concern you, the Second Amendment thing I just said? That he got his gun taken away, but the fact that he was shot after that? Now you could argue what happened was he got his gun taken away. Somebody said the word gun, and then the ICE agents around him panicked and killed him. But then Trump said, "Well, you can't bring a gun to these things." No, but Tim Roberts, she was practicing her First Amendment rights. Like, when they're talking to ICE agents, when they're showing up and talking to these people, that's their First Amendment rights. The woman that got assaulted, in front of, Alex Preddy, she got assaulted for practicing her First Amendment rights. These deaths are not happening in isolation and without a context. These are specifically people who showed up to an incident where ICE was, assaulting, not assaulting people necessarily at the start, but kidnapping people. Then ICE assaults people, and they killed Renee Good and Alex Preddy. I didn't mention Keith Porter Jr., who was also killed for being a gun owner, because he was just minding his own business at his own home. Let me put you on screen here. I don't agree that America has respect for the laws we have on the books. But part of the reason is this right here. No offense to you, Tim Roberts, but you are looking for reasons not to criticize uh, what is you're trying to defend what my father would call an untenable case. It's on camera, pretty crystal clear. We've had 2 killings thus far, and to be blunt, ICE has only ever lost, I think, 1 person. They've only had 1 death on the job, might be 2, but the deaths they've had on the job were from, misadventure. It was a heart attack is the one I'm aware of. The person was, the ICE agent was, they had a heart condition they perhaps didn't know about. It happens to athletes, and they fell over dead. No reason to believe their life, was ever in danger, and yet they killed 2 Americans for showing up and making noise. If you're if you are unable, you're actually unable to acknowledge this, life will not get better for you. You will be the, consistent, enabler of your own abusers, and, it would break my heart. Oh. Temp V Solves says, "Mag dump. Call of Duty players never been in a stressful situation, pretending to analyze it. Unreal." I mean, look, if you're a Call of Duty player that's never been in a stressful situation, you're still in America, and you have to try to make an assessment whether you're qualified to or not. Um, I get it. I understand. But I would say, if that is who you are, and there's nothing wrong with being that, because you didn't ask to be in this situation. But if that is who you are, default to kindness. Default to, boring, actually. If you're wondering what somebody should have done, it should be first and foremost the kind thing, and second, if you don't see a kind thing available, then the boring thing. It's a pretty good rule of thumb. But yes, I think a lot of folks are Call of Duty players who have never been in a stressful situation and are pretending to be. Here is a longtime viewer of mine who didn't see uh the first part of this, and that is very useful to me because I can stress the point that I'm trying to make. Obama and Biden deported more people than Trump has. says Foxy. And the ICE agents didn't murder anyone. Well, there we disagree on the second part. But on the first part, do you see, right wing, that we acknowledge some of these facts that you're talking about and that you are shown by media that is lying to you? I will point out. You are shown only what is convenient for you to see of us around election time. Now, the second part says Foxy, the ICE agents didn't murder anyone. Hard disagree. Yeah, I mean, you might call it manslaughter, but I would say even if you consider the initial killings or the initial delivering of the fatal wounds to be just accidents, their refusal of allowing medical aid on the scene uh, is murder. They physically blocked a doctor who was present at the shooting of Renee Good from rendering medical aid. They did the same to a doctor who was present at the shooting of Alex Preddy, and then they manhandled his body to count the bullets. That's murder. But I think Alex Preddy's killing was murder before that. And it began as an assault. It began as an assault on the woman who they shoved into the snow. And when Alex Preddy helped her up, they continued the assault by macing Alex Preddy, even though their lives were not in danger, nor was the woman's life in danger. Excuse me, nor was their lives in danger from the woman he helped up. They maced them both, and then they swarmed Alex Preddy. They threw him down, and they began punching him while holding him down at the same time. That's torture. And then they took away his gun and shot him in the back. And you might say, well, wait a minute. They were just frothed up. They were whipped up into a lather. Yeah, well, they whipped themselves up into a lather. That's murder. You witnessed a murder if you saw that video. Now, this is something I've been waiting to see, and I'm glad to see. K2MC85 says, I support ICE, but I don't support that shooting. Easy to say in hindsight, though, after the fact. I mean, yes and no for the after the fact thing. I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, we weren't. It's one thing to say it looking through the video. It's another thing to be there. But boy, the shoving of the lady, just beginning with that, the shoving of the lady, that is assault in response to a whistle being blown. And if they didn't know that that was a wrong way to behave, then they have no business being, carrying a gun for the U.S. government. But man, is it heartening for me to see this first part. I support ICE, but I don't support that shooting. Good. Yes, I have my own views about ICE and this, that, and the other thing, but totally separate from those views. I just want to see that there are sane Americans who can acknowledge that that particular shooting should not be allowed. And arguably, the people who lied to us about that shooting after it first happened cannot be trusted. When Greg Bovino said that he, what did he say? Like he ran at ICE with a gun. Kristi Noem tried to use subtle language by saying that Preddy approached ICE with a gun, which was technically true. He was a gun owner. He did approach ICE and owned a gun. It was in his waistline, and he never put his hands on it, as far as we can tell. But the lies they told were intended, they were lies. They were intended to deceive you. That's a problem. And I won't pretend that's a problem that's unique to one party or another, but that is certainly a problem with the current administration in power. And the only way American life actually improves is if we acknowledge that and deal with it. We have consequences for it. Demanding, for example, that Nome be fired and the people that shot that guy in the back have a trial about it. Maybe during the trial it's discovered it was hectic. We didn't know what happened. Um, and maybe it's found that the officers that actually did the shooting are not guilty because they heard the word gun and then they panicked and, "Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry, but, we can't have you serving the field because you've done this, and it would be a liability for us." But let me tell you, the guy that picked up the gun, he ran away as shots were being fired. He jogged off. He jogs right towards the camera, so you get a good look at him, holding the gun, Preddy's gun, and running away. And at no point he turns and he hears the shots going off, and he does not shout, "Stop! I have the gun. Cease fire! Cease fire! I have the gun. I have the gun." He doesn't say that. He doesn't say anything. That's murder. Even though that guy didn't even do any shooting himself, he knew somebody was being shot unnecessarily, and he chose to let it happen. And probably what went through his head was, "Oh, well, I'm hearing shots. This guy's already dead. They point blank, they probably already killed him. And if I speak up now, people might see that I've got the gun, and in this moment, I'm panicking, and, I don't want people to be angry with me or blame me for any of this, and I'm just gonna keep jogging like I'm jogging and say nothing." Okay, that's a very human response. It's very sad, and a man, might have died because of it. You can't trust that guy to be out there doing that job anymore. And if we as the US government don't demonstrate that that guy, is at least being vetted via trial, if he's at least like, if we're not in a court of law, calmly, rationally, with professionals presenting the evidence in front of 12 people who are told, "Listen, this isn't about how you feel. This is about whether or not this complies with the laws we have on the books." If we don't do that, then Americans should not trust ICE because any one of those folks could be that guy for all we know. We have no reason to behave otherwise. But let me tell you, K2 MC85, I just seeing you say that, I support ICE, but I don't support that shooting. That has given me a lot more faith in the American people and a lot more faith in whatever politics you end up having as I see you talking about them. Anything you have to say going forward, I'm gonna take more seriously than the average other person that I see on here, because that's a logical stance to have. Again, it's not my stance. I don't support ICE, but I I am hoping that, more and more conservatives, are willing to have the nuance necessary to, you know, regulating $175 billion worth of guns and boots in our streets because we can't just pretend like everything's fine. Now, Justin Michael USA, I so want to agree with you. I so want to, but I have to acknowledge Rand Paul actually does have principles. I don't agree with most of them, but he does have principles, and that's a rare thing. Oh, G-Man Z4F. Let's see what you're talking about. Now this is interesting. Hold on, Foxy. I'll thank you for bringing this up. I'll talk to G-Man for a wee bit. The first woman in the car hit the officer and caused internal bleeding, and in the video, pretty clearly hits the officers. I certainly not clearly. I watched that video multiple times looking for such things. I did not see that. What is definitely clear is that when he was swarmed by multiple grown men and they threw him down and started beating him, they did hold him down and beat him at the same time. That's torture. They did strip away his gun, which he never touched, and then shot him in the back. That's murder. Might be murder by folly. Still murder. The first thing he said, though, that is lies directly from Donald Trump. This stuff has been disproven, or let me say directly from the Trump administration. I don't remember who released the misinformation that said he had internal bleeding. If you look at the video, first of all, before I tell you the following facts that will clarify things, but if you just look at the video, Renee Good goes from 0 to 1 mile an hour before she is shot. She is shot from the front, so he has time to take out his gun, even though he was standing right in front of the car. Has time to take out his gun and shoot her in the front. And then as she's drifting off this way, by the way, her tires are as far over as they can be. So she's not trying to hurt this guy. She even says as her last words, "I'm not mad at you, dude." And she's shot in the side. After he's clear of the car. Now, the reason you were told there was internal bleeding, there wasn't. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the reason you were told that is so that you could imagine that this guy had no choice. That this guy was like, whoa, 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 oh, Jesus, boom, 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 oh, my God, is everybody safe? Am I a hero? Okay, God, I gotta go to a hospital. That's not what happened. What happened is, whoa, bitch. That's actually what happened. He got gently nudged. Proof, he didn't go to the hospital. He also walked away from the scene after that. Didn't go to the hospital. No internal bleeding. He was fine. Jonathan Ross, the murderer of Renee Good, killed her in front of her dog and her spouse and within earshot of her child, who she had just dropped off at school. Last words she said to him and other ICE agents at the scene were, "I'm not mad at you, dude." Last words he said to her, "Fucking bitch." So why were you misled? It's not your fault that you thought that there was internal bleeding. You were given a very specific interpretation of events. Just like you were told that Alex Preddy approached, it was implied that he approached with his gun drawn. Just like Trump told you he was there to do a mass shooting. Or was that Bavino? It doesn't matter. Leadership told you these things. Why did they tell you these things? So that you would be okay with the murders. But that's why these cell phones are there and going live. They're recording. They are anticipating the lies we know you're going to hear. You're being lied to. And it's because the folks who are doing the lying know that this is not your morality. That they have different intentions than you would be okay with. This is what Obama did to us. Lied. Told us he believed in the things we believe in. But he didn't. So why did he tell us that he believed in the things we believed in? So we wouldn't get in his business. So we would not demand that we be represented by our elected officials. It's the same thing that's happening to you right now. You're a coward and a liar. Coward, I'll give you. Liar, I think not. I'm trying my best not to. I have a distaste for liars, particularly in this era, because I'll tell you what, you didn't name the one thing that I definitely won't disagree with, which is I don't even wanna say dumb, but I'm slow, you know? I can get there with most things that other people can learn, but it does take me a bit longer. And the the problem is that when you have liars in society, that are so often unchallenged, I take the long time to learn the thing they're saying, only to get to the end and find out that that it wasn't true, and I could have just ignored them the whole time. Case in point, Gavin Newsom. I've listened to a lot of things he has to say because I've had no choice. I've had to talk about it here. But eventually I did stop because there's no point. He is lying most of the time. And if he's not lying, it's just because it's convenient to him not to, but he's not a good source for information. Same thing with CBS, same thing with Fox, same thing with most mainstream media, if I'm gonna be blunt. I've gotta squint. I've gotta look at the things they're telling me through a lens of like, well, I gotta subtract, whatever their billionaire advertising companies, paid for them not to say. I've gotta add in this context and that, and I don't blame anybody for just throwing their hands up and saying, "Well, I'm not gonna watch any of it," because there's the liars waste our time, and time is precious, particularly these days. Yeah, CBS reported the internal bleeding. They would have wanted it not to be true. What do you mean they would have wanted it not to be true? XXRS7SQ. Who runs CBS right now? Do you know that? I'll just tell you. It's Barry Weiss. She's a Trump apologist, and in order for CBS to get a merger deal that they desperately wanted, they had to make Barry Weiss in charge of their news. They do Trump apologia. CBS is not a reliable source for news. They are run by specifically the Trump administration. Um, but you're saying this as though it's still in question as to whether there was internal bleeding. There is no question. We already know Jonathan Ross did not have internal bleeding. He did not go for medical treatment. Ooh, this is not a surprise to me, although I was unaware of it. John Thomas says Barry Weiss is implicated in the Epstein files. Of course. At this point, if somebody is famous, I just assume they're a child molester. If somebody's like, Uncle Alex, when I grow up, I want to be on stage. I'm going to be like, ew, don't touch kids, dude. And they'll be like, what? What are you I said I want to sing and dance and be famous. Ew. Quit telling me you want to touch kids. I just assume. Yeah, it's a sad reality. Yeah, Manda the Pivot. That's a new one, not surprised. Baker Bell. I want to read this. It's crazy. Ooh, Seth Kunert. Some write a lot. Yeah, Baker Bell. Barry Weiss sucks eggs. Yes, she does. Seth Kunert. Trump got rid of NAFTA. True. And that's a good thing. NAFTA, if you're not aware, North American Free Trade Agreement. NAFTA was not a good thing. As an invention of Bill Clinton, king neoliberal that he is, terrible, terrible trade deal. But I am not sure what you're talking about regarding Europe with strategic locations without escalating the Ukraine war. That's one of those things where, like, a press person found a way to say something that feels good to your ears. But when you stop and think about it, it's not the thing they wanted to imply that it was. Europe has had to pick up the slack for the US as the US has betrayed its longtime ally Ukraine by not defending it in the way we said we would. Now, look, again, let me dunk on Obama because you guys seem to, ooh, you love that. I'm not going to look too deeply into why you specifically love that. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just going to move right along. Obama in 2014 allowed Crimea to get invaded by Russia. He fucked over Ukraine. I'm not claiming Democrats are good. Joe Biden should have flooded Ukraine with U.S. arms. Instead, he trickled them in because that is more destructive to Russia in the long term. A long, drawn out conflict is more destructive to Russia than if they just had to retreat because we sent tanks right away. But what Trump is doing, it's just a straight up betrayal of our allies. Trump is not giving weapons that we promised to give. He's making demands of Ukraine, asking them to accuse his political enemies of things, asking them to bribe him, doing all the standard Trump stuff that one is used to by this point. And what Europe has to do to keep Russia from taking over and being on the doorstep of Poland and Lithuania and the rest of Europe, they're helping. But it's not like Trump sat down and was like, okay, here's what I think. Here's a military plan, and you go here and take this one. And it's not going to annoy Russia too much because we're going to move here. None of that happened. It's just the thing that's happening globally with the United States. The U.S. is withdrawing from agreements that it made, showing that it can't be trusted. And the rest of the world, as they are growing increasingly sick of our nonsense, is saying, okay, you know what? Instead of even bothering to try to get you back to the table, instead of even attempting to make you into somebody that's worth a damn, what we're going to do is just move on without you. So in Latin America, you've got the BRICS. That's a new currency. It's Brazil something. I forget what it is, but it's a new currency that's meant to replace the dollar, which means the U.S. dollar is going to become weaker because that's a chunk of the world that no longer uses it as their trade currency. European country, the European Union, I can't remember the name. Europe and India just made a giant trade deal, which excludes the United States. Again, because we cannot be trusted. So on and so forth, my friend. Yeah, I'm glad NAFTA's gone. I don't like what it was replaced with, but let's not dwell on that. I'm glad NAFTA is gone. But the rest of that, sadly, is you hearing things spun in a very positive way. But the spin is such that the accuracy is gone. Some Dumb Beat says a BRIC has not been made a currency yet. No, that's true. It hasn't, but they are making it, and it's unlikely to be stopped. Seth Kunert says, "Bruh, you sound mentally challenged. How are you supposed to support Ukraine without giving Russia the ability to use propaganda to frame Ukraine as the aggressor and father allies?" Well, I am mentally challenged, so I appreciate you spelling it out there for me. Russia's the one doing the invading, yes? So that's how. You could give Ukraine everything short of nukes. You could give them every other jet we have. You could give them all of our machine guns and a third of our tanks and 2 of our battleships and some kick-ass grenade launchers and whatever. Russia's invading Ukraine. No, there's no the only people that have confusion about this are subject to Russian propaganda. And they're going to be subject to Russian propaganda no matter what. But it's not like countries around the world really have much confusion about what happened. Russia attempted to do a false flag operation. And then the Biden administration actually called as one of the useful things Biden ever did. I do not care for Joe Biden. Let me be clear. But the Biden administration did do something useful. They played the video that they got from Russia that was going to be what they used as their false flag operation and said Russia's attempting to blame Ukraine right now for something that has not yet happened, and they're going to say this happened. And then Russia invaded anyway. A week later, Russia waited a week and then said, "Well, we suspect Ukraine anyway. We suspect Ukraine is I don't even remember what they settled on. I'll tell you this. They didn't settle on their explanation for the invasion until months into the thing. That should tell you a little bit about who we're dealing with. Giving Russia the ability to use propaganda to frame Ukraine as the aggressor. The whole world knows that Russia invaded Ukraine unprompted, and anything Ukraine does to get them out is fine, to be blunt. Oh, thank you, Mixed Glitch Master. Brazil, Russia, India, China. Well, so that's what that acronym stands for. C. Brown 9555 asks, "Are you gay?" That's a fair question, given the way I choose to present myself, but shockingly, no. Although, in fairness, I, like many people, have seen the film The Labyrinth, which means I can never again be totally straight. Some Dumb Beats 9879 says US dollar is fucked. Yeah. Gang, I'm sorry to tell you. I mean, it might not all be bad news, but yeah, the dollar is no longer going to have an element to it, which throughout at least my 40 years on God's green earth has been something we have been able to rely on, which is that the dollar was pretty much undisputably again, my whole life, the trade currency of the world, which means even when we had instability within the nation, we could rely on a degree of stability throughout the world to keep the dollar more or less where it was. No longer. So now when we have things like the financial crisis of 2008, for example, it's just going to be us and us alone to fix it. And there have been times where I don't think we would have been capable of it. I don't know what happens then. I don't want to imply that it's definitely doom. I just don't know what the solution looks like then because we haven't experienced it. We'll have to try something. Well put. Vanilla X Tahitensis. Vanilla X Tahitensis. Russia has been invading Ukraine continuously since 2014. 100% correct. And the US is supposedly, just so you know, for a little historical context here. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine had a lot of the nukes. And the whole world was like, hey, new European country with a lot of nukes. Hey, buddy, how you doing? You want to just chill out a little bit? And Ukraine was like, okay, listen. We give up nukes. We give up nukes for alliance. And the United States was like, deal. Yeah, if you dismantle those nukes, you can borrow our military if you ever get invaded. No problem. Done. Whew. Cut to 2014. They got invaded. What did we do? With Obama in charge, God help me, stood around with our dicks in our hands. All. After that, Trump was in charge. Looked like they were getting invaded again. Russia was getting ready. What did Trump do? He actually got impeached because he tried to get Vladimir Zelensky to give him dirt on Joe Biden for the Javelin missiles that he had been promised. Then under Trump, then under Biden, they actually do get invaded again. What do? Slow roll the arms that we gave them so that we could bleed Russia out over a long period of time. We used them as bait, essentially, to literally troll. I mean, like fishing trolling, to keep Russia in a long, drawn out war that was not too quick, not too quickly repulsed. I spoke out about that during the Biden administration, let it be known. And now what are we doing? Same thing, but even less. In other words, we've shown the whole world that we are not a country of our word. The legit, you're having an interesting conversation with Foxy. I want to see her criticisms of tariffs. You know what? This might be related to the tariffs. Sorry, I got to jump to the bottom. That looks like an interesting conversation. Trump freed Venezuela? What are you talking about? Who's in charge of Venezuela right now, D-Man? Do you know? You had to guess. Who's in charge? Not trying to be rude, but I assume you don't know. Her name is Delcy Rodriguez. But do you know what her position was before? Before you say Venezuelan people are happy, but I'm asking, do you know who's in charge? Do you know what Delcy Rodriguez's previous job was before being in charge? There you go. XX has it. The vice president of Venezuela. Wait, vice president fled Venezuela. As of January 5, Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as the interim president. So for those of you that didn't know, Delcy Rodriguez was Maduro's vice president. I'm not sure what you mean by freeing Venezuela. For example, if somebody were to kidnap Trump in the way Trump kidnapped Maduro, we would not be free of the Trump administration. J.D. Vance would be in charge. Be the same thing, but with a different beard in the form of Usha. Wow. Sorry about that joke. I'm pleased with it though. That'd be the same thing. I can't see how you get there thinking they're free. They're not. All we did is kidnap a guy, apparently, so he could claim that there was voter fraud in the 2020 election. Oy. And steal a bunch of oil, which we're still stealing. And you're getting told that the Venezuelan people are happy. I don't believe that's true. I have seen lots and lots and lots and lots of media and polling that says that the Venezuelan people are furious with the United States specifically and are not willing to let this go even over the long term. But I can't ask you to believe that as opposed to your media, so I'll just ask you this. They were paying 4 cents a gallon for their nationalized gasoline before we took their natural resource, claiming it was ours. Remember that we went in there initially pretending that it was about drugs, and then suddenly it was about how the oil is somehow ours, even though it's their natural resource. They were paying 4 cents a gallon for it. Do you think they're going to be paying that next year? You know, Brendan's post says they were indeed celebrating Why Are Leftists Blind. I see videos of Venezuelan people cheering for Trump. Yeah, there were AI videos circulating, in the early days of Venezuelans cheering for their own, attack by the US. There was also videos of, soccer wins being played on right-wing media, under the headline, "Venezuelans celebrate," Trump invasion or whatever they said. But your media lies to you. And again, I'll just point out to you the simple logic they of I'm saying this is a logic-based, observation. Do with it what you will, but they were paying 4 cents a gallon for gasoline. And do you think they still will be? I don't have the answer to that. I suspect I know, and I suspect you're gonna come to the same conclusion I will. They aren't happy, is the short answer. When your country gets invaded by another country, you don't develop warm feelings for that country. Cannabis says, "Oh, I love the name. Be careful, be charged with being the leader of Antifa." Well, I am the leader of Antifa, actually, truth be told. I am the head of, the anti-fascist, resistance, uh, which is why we've done so poorly. Sorry, my leadership has been, marked mostly by my great love of day drinking and night smoking. And I got to admit, I did drop the ball on being Antifa leader. Bravo. Oy. Now, Brennan Post, here's something that I find very telling. I'm assuming you don't understand why we're joking about Antifa. The reason we're able to joke about it so much is that it is a right wing invention. Antifa simply means anti fascist. And I don't know who initially coined the term or used the term, but it was never a term that a group of people used to describe themselves as a group. As in, they didn't say, let's go to the Antifa meeting. It was simply, it's an abbreviation for anti-fascist. So as if to say, uh, you know, liberal, conservative, libertarian. Well, libertarian's an actual party though. So liberal, conservative, anti-fascist. You know, not 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 a like an organized group, but a vague sentiment. Also, why did they choose the word Antifa? Is it because it sounds Arabic? It sounds it sounds like a scary Arabic word to the sorts of folks who think that Arabic words are scary. And they presented you with this idea that an Antifa person is dangerous because it, for some reason, at this point in history, became very, very important for your media bubble to view people that don't like fascism, like your grandparents and mine, and everybody that fought against the Axis powers in World War II. It's very important that the anti-fascists be looked at as bad guys. And if you want proof that the media lies are working to get you fighting against your own interests, here you go. We have come all the way there. A New York Giants fan saying Antifa are fascists. Thank you, Foxy. That's one of those things where it hurts. It hurts, and I think that person knew it would hurt. I think they did it to hurt me. Normally, it doesn't. Normally, I just pity the person, but they got me that time. It did hurt. Congratulations. Oh, D-Man. D-Man, genuine question for you. I'm not trying to make fun of you. I genuinely would like you to answer this. What does Antifa mean? Do you know? This is for D-Man-MG1PS. What does Antifa literally mean? It's two words that have been combined into one. Anti and then fa stands for something. What is that? It is anti what? Asking D-Man MG1PS. And I'm sorry, I don't have a special system here. I've got to just stare at the comments until I see the answer. So, D-Man, what does Antifa stand for? Your comment was that Antifa are 100% fascist, comma, brainwashed commies. But in your opinion, D-Man, what does Antifa stand for? And if you don't know, that's fine. You can just tell me. D-Man says, who cares what it means? I could call myself anything, doesn't mean anything. Well, in this case, it does matter because Antifa literally is not a group. So I want to just be clear that when you say Antifa are 100% fascist, brainwashed commies, it's not a group of people. It is a ideological belief. And if you think that it is an insult to call them fascist, if you or if you think it's a criticism of them, hey DJX, good to see you. If you think it's a criticism of them to call them fascist, I got terrible news for you, D-Man. You're Antifa. And if you just reeled back and were like, I'm not Antifa, don't call me Antifa. It's not me doing it, man. It's you. Antifa just is a shorthand way to say anti-fascist. And I didn't even come up with it. Most people who consider themselves Antifa didn't come up with it. I think it's a Fox News invention. At the very least, it was popularized by Fox News. Because it sounds like an Arabic word to describe people who are anti-fascist as Antifa. Ooh, that sounds Arabic. That's gotta be a terrorist group. But when you say that they are brainwashed commies, they're neither of those things. They're literally nothing except anti-fascists because it's just a way to describe people who have anti-fascist sensibilities. And again, that's basically everybody. This is the first group that I have seen invented out of whole cloth. I don't know how else to explain it to you. Tell you what, get out there and find your local Antifa meeting and attend that meeting, listen to what they have to say, and see if you still disagree with me. And let me spare you wandering the earth for the rest of your life. There is no local Antifa meeting. There is no national Antifa meeting. There is no Antifa meeting anywhere because it is not an organization. There might be these days groups that sarcastically call themselves like Antifa Brooklyn, and it'll be like a bowling team that are trying to, they watch 5 minutes of news every month and they're trying to be funny. But the fact that you think that there is a group out there called Antifa and you hate them so much that you call them fascist brainwashed commies. And by the way, fascist and commies are opposite ends of the political spectrum. We'll get to that in a moment. But the fact that you call a group which doesn't exist fascist, you have such strong opinions about this group that you call them fascist brainwashed commies, means that your media is lying to you. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means that you're drawing a conclusion that has been provided to you by liars. It's not your fault, but it is something that now you are aware of. And what you do from this moment on will be your responsibility. Incidentally, the same media that told you that Antifa is like a group that meets and chats as opposed to just being a way Fox News described some people, and admittedly got gullible people to say, "Yeah, I'm Antifa. Of course I'm Antifa." In the same way that you have a reaction to saying, I'm not Antifa. People that know and accept that it just means anti-fascist smirk and go, "Yeah, I'm Antifa. Yeah, me and every soldier in 1945. Absolutely, I'm Antifa." It's not, I guess I'm just saying it's not your fault that you believe this, but it's a problem that you believe this because it's not real. It's not a group, and the fact that you thought it was means you're being lied to. Further evidence that you're being lied to. You think it's bad to be fascist. I agree. You think it's bad to be communist. I disagree. But you think that somebody can be both fascist and communist. Those two things are at the opposite end of the spectrum. To be communist, is this what's left to you guys? To be communist, you have to not be fascist. To be fascist, let me just try this again. To be communist, you have to be against corporations controlling major parts of your country's existence, holding too much power in your country. That's what you have to be communist. To be fascist, a far right ideology, you basically are marrying corporations with the state. They are fundamentally at odds. And the fact that you were so angry at a fictitious group that you called them contradictory things and you didn't realize those things were contradictory. Again, before this moment, not your fault. But now that someone's telling it to you square, uh, you have to make some decisions about your media ecosystem. And I don't recommend you watch this because I've got the face of a sex offender. I'm not one, but I have the face of a man that's on a list somewhere. And I don't blame you for not watching this with regularity. But if you should consider watching somebody who you at least know will tell you the regular boring truth rather than lies about people that you are just looking for excuses not to like. And hey, you're not alone. You're not alone even in wanting to find excuses not to like some of these people. I've had great fun with the right-wing audience, and the horizontal viewers, I think, have had a bit of fun with this too. I've had great fun finding things to dog on Obama for, because I think he is that's like the first time I actually felt well and truly betrayed by somebody. Um, you can find people who tell you true things that are criticisms of the people you don't like. But the people that tell you false things that are criticisms of people you don't like, they are they're playing, and they're playing millions of other people. And I tell you this because they played me too. And it sucks, but it is out there and they are doing it. So be careful. Prince of Wales says, what? Okay. USA 55 for 112 says queers for Palestine. I would say that's accurate. He also says, I assume he, and I assume divorced, says Diddycrats suck tranny balls. Now, I've never sucked tranny balls. But I don't consider myself a Diddycrat. I certainly don't consider myself, am I a Democrat? I'll have to think about that. Maybe I do consider myself a Democrat. I don't like that, though. I would like very much not to be a Democrat. But I'll say this, I love this name. I gotta give you guys credit, culturally. You guys don't get credit for, some of the things that you do because 'cause we're usually furious with you. But you're good at insulting names. You are good at insulting names, and I think any Democrat that has failed to put in work to get the Epstein files released, including those who held power during the Biden administration, should be called Diddycrats. Now, I would ask you in the right wing, this is a moment where, so that's the vertical stream. This is a moment where you can help us fuck over some of your least favorite people. You want to make Chuck Schumer feel bad? You want to make Hakeem Jeffries feel bad? Focus fire. You can really spook them if you acknowledge that Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is different than they are. Do not call progressives like Ilhan Omar, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, don't call them Diddycrats. Also, because they don't deserve it. They did nothing to protect the Epstein folks. But do call basically every other Democrat Diddycrats, and I'll join you in that. And the reason I ask you to be specific about who you're calling Diddycrats is because it will make it a harsher insult. It'll make it actually mean something. If they see that you call all Democrats, no matter what, Diddycrats, they'll smile. They don't smile. They'll smirk with their lizard lips and elbow each other and say, "It's working." Or Chuck Schumer will say, "It's working." They don't see a difference. They can't tell that I'm the one that's screwing them over, and AOC isn't. Hakeem Jeffries will say, "It's working. I can keep screwing them over." I don't do a good Schumer. I want to do the glasses down because it's an easy visual. It's like doing that with the Jack Nicholson. But I don't do a good version of his voice. No normal person, says Nate, cares about sides. They just want progress. The thing in the head is a color that is predisposed. Who cares? Every day I'm closer to that belief, Nate. Like Donald James X the other day asked me, would I vote for a Republican under like if they were Medicare for all? If a Republican offered me universal health care and agreed to pay for it by taxing only the richest Americans, which is something that's absolutely on the table. We could do tomorrow if we had the will for it. I said yes, and I meant it. I did some qualifications with that. It would depend on what state I was in, certainly. I would have to be angry with the Democratic Party in the state. But good news, in my state, I don't like the Democratic Party. I think they are basically a gang. So yeah, I would absolutely vote for a Republican under those circumstances. The party names mean less and less. It's just the name of two gangs that you're supposed to join at least one of them. We're in hell. But again, that's why we're doing this new kind of stream. It is because you know, at some point we have to take control of this country. And when we keep letting people lie to us and get away with lying to us, and we keep defending people who we know lie to us, we are dooming ourselves to a consistent pattern that will always end with us in screwed. Wicked Foxy Dragon. Antifa surfaced in Italy in the 1920s, by the way. Fair. Scrady Wolf 7081 says Trump isn't hiding you, and then the R slur. Scrady Wolf, I would be happy to talk to you, but you've got to not use slurs for folks, because I won't have you insulting people for no reason. Folks didn't do anything to you. But in regards to your comment that you say Trump didn't hide anything, Well, yeah, it's typical. It's manners, Scrady Wolf. Um, yeah, it's typical of progressives to have manners. And on a progressive show, I will insist that my guests treat each other with basic human dignity. But I want to address your question because you said Trump isn't hiding anything. Oh dear. Do you know that he had himself redacted from the Epstein files? He still appears in them, but were you aware of the fact that he had himself redacted from the Epstein files? Were you aware of the fact that they released a page with his face blocked out in a picture, and then people recognized the borders of that picture from a previous release? And so they showed, look, this is the same picture. And then they unredacted it and said, all right, it's fine. It's fine now to have it. Do you know that his name was blacked out? And it was discovered that before they were properly doing the redactions, that you could just highlight it and see the words written under them. And Trump was there a bunch of times. Were you aware of the fact that he has made more money in his second term in office than he has at any other point in his life, including when he was on The Apprentice, including when he got the money inherited from his father? He's made more money in office than at any other point in his life. Not asking you to make a judgment. I'm just asking if you're aware of this. Were you aware of the fact that he his wife was given $40 million, more than anybody has ever been paid for a documentary, to do the Melania film? That it doesn't even need to make money in theaters for them to make money on it, because Jeff Bezos gave his wife straight up $40 million. Were you aware of these things? I'm sincerely asking. I'm not trying to be. Well, oh wait, that's Maddie says don't care. You are so fucking stupid, says Grady Wolf. Yeah. So we need to go slow because I will not get things easily. So I'm asking, are you aware of these things? Yes or no? Also, I noticed that you're hopping mad, and I wonder why that is. I was not aware of that. You said, yes. Are you aware that Obama spent $65,000 on hot dogs? Please, please have that be real. Again, if you were listening earlier, I've been looking for reasons not to like Obama. I like having a nice little list of things I can rattle off for why you shouldn't trust any of these motherfuckers. I don't like Obama. And every last mother president has been a criminal at one point or another. How much did Obama spend on hot dogs? The claim that President Barack Obama spent $65,000 on hot dogs is a debunked, I didn't even specify $65,000, long running conspiracy theory. The origin of the claim: the rumor originated from a misinterpretation of leaked emails, often associated with the Pizzagate conspiracy, which incorrectly implied that a large sum of money was spent on food, sometimes referred to as hot dogs in the emails, for a White House party. Fact-checking organizations, including Snopes, have identified this as a conspiracy theory, noting that it was a fabricated story used to smear the administration. All right. Well, look, he still deported more people than any other president, so I still don't like him. And he still killed a U.S. citizen, so I still don't like him. But no, he apparently did not spend $65,000 on hot dogs. Now, see, you are exactly who I want to talk to, Scrady Wolf, and I'm glad we didn't block you right off the bat, because we did not listen to you back in the day, even though you were right about broadly what was going on in the government. Sounds like you're a QAnoner, and let me apologize to you, face to screen name. This hurts for me. I spent a couple of years pretty much making fun of you. Um, I was wrong, and you were right, and I am sorry, Scrady Wolf. I'm sorry I didn't listen. Now, the reason I made fun of you and the reason I didn't listen to anything else you had to say is because of stuff like this, admittedly. Um, you chose to latch on to things like hot dogs meaning little boy or cheese pizza meaning kitty diddling images. And those things got proven rather quickly and blatantly to be not correct. But the thing is, just because those things weren't correct, I assumed that nothing that you had to say was correct. So I think both you and I need to come to an agreement here. We need to come to an accord. Whether or not I was right or wrong should be irrelevant to you. I acted the way I acted when you said what you said. I didn't listen to you, even though I should have. Again, it's not a matter of whether it was a good thing for me to do. We now know that's what happens. So, for example, if you were a security guard and you put up a sign in front of a door that says, please don't open, fire alarm will sound. And then you go stand by another door, which you're supposed to be guarding. And the fire alarm goes off. And you look over, and somebody's standing looking guilty by the door saying, I didn't realize. I didn't realize. And you go, God dang, read the sign. But then another event you're being a security guard at. And once again, the same events happen. Maybe people should be reading the sign. But as of the second time that it happens, it is your fault. Because the second time that it happens, you already know that people don't read the sign. Whether or not they should is irrelevant. You know that they don't read the sign. So you have to change your approach. So in this case, I see us walking down the same path that we did before. This time around, I have hopefully the wisdom to know that it's not wise to dismiss you immediately. That you might have information that I need, or at the very least that we all need, and we should all be listening to. But similarly, you got to be willing to restrict yourself to those things that you can prove and not prove by way of finding somebody else who's saying the same crazy that you find interesting. But allow a moment to be unsatisfying. Allow yourself to say, well, I suspect this, that, or the other thing, but I don't know it. And so I can't insist that other people act as though it's true. In other words, I'm trying to work with you to get you better at convincing me and my folks. Because when we see you write in all caps, hot dogs means little boy, it is very difficult for us to take anything else you have to say seriously. If only because you wrote the sentence, hot dog means little boy. But the thing of it is, and again I stress, you were correct. There are accusations in the Epstein files that Jeffrey Epstein, out of Mar-a-Lago, was running auctions for little kids, for the rich and powerful, auctioning them off. That's way closer to what you thought was real 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even, than what I thought was real. That's way closer to what your view of the world was than what my view of the world was. It doesn't make me feel good to say that, dude. But it's the facts. It's the crow I gotta eat. Your view of the world, closer to accurate than mine. I was certain that you were literally wearing a tinfoil hat, pissing yourself intentionally in public, wandering around the filthy alleyways uh, of the world, just screaming anything. Nope. There actually were a secret society of child diddlers running the US government. And shockingly, there still are. What is Wicked even talking about anymore? Well, there was a guy who was a QAnoner in the chat, and I had to apologize. As a matter of honor, I had to apologize. The guy was closer to being right about there being diddlers in the US government, which includes apparently frickin' Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, two US presidents. And look, even though Trump wasn't, after all, a secret agent trying to stop it, he was involved. I would say QAnon was closer to right than I was, because I did not think Trump was one of the diddlers. I thought probably what happened is he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He knew about the diddling, but he just is a sociopath, so he didn't care. But no, it appears that he knew the details about the diddling. He participated. He certainly is accused of by one of the victims of running an auction out of Mar-a-Lago. The QAnon person was closer to right than I was. And if I expect to ever, be taken seriously by that person, then I'm going to have to be honest about those times I was not correct. And this is one of them. All right, this is what I like. I like how it's starting. Not so private playlist. I know you guys aren't going to like this opinion, but I'm still confused how National Socialism is the answer if we can simply drag them from their banks and islands. Just saying. Uh I don't like I don't know what you mean by National Socialism. I think socialism certainly will help things, but the they you're talking about, I don't know who you mean. You mean billionaires? You mean politicians? We have a multi-religion, multi-profession conspiracy. Basically, it's everybody that managed to get powerful in America and around the world, for that matter. It turns out they all have the same hobby, but it's not a religion, which I suspect you were going for there. It's not. And when they try to convince you that it is a specific religion, or if they try to convince you that it's a specific profession, like, oh, all of the bankers, or oh, all of the politicians, even though it's a lot of the politicians, all of the whatevers, it is specifically because they want to make sure that what your complaint is not taken seriously, and that you as a person are not taken seriously. Because, to be blunt, if society were to take you seriously, it would collapse because your accusations are based on whimsy. But they don't have to be. You're pretty close. Yeah, at least 28 women have come out accusing Trump of sexual assault. And hey, Clinton too. Fuck them both. Yeah, mixed glitch master. Not a fan of Nazis, aka National Socialists. I'm gonna choose. To believe that they didn't mean it like that, and just address the point as innocently. Yeah, great point by Nate. Notice how Bill Gates disappeared from the public? Where is he these days? He used to be a very public figure, and he's sort of gone these days, isn't he? Things to think about. Sure is keeping a low profile these days. Ronald Matthews says, "You are messing with Yahweh's choice and calling a curse on yourself." I got bad news for you, mister. The curses that are on me, not unlike the diseases afflicting Mr. Burns, there are so many curses on me at one point that they're kind of counteracting each other. Like, for example, I angered a genie who put a curse on me to make me thinner, like the movie Thinner with Stephen King. But then I also angered a jinn, which put a curse on me to make me grow fatter and fatter. And I've got a series of things like that where they're just sort of neutralizing. Jehovah don't agree with that. Yeah. Oh, I think I'm with you. But look, it's that time at night, folks. I've lost track of the conversation. I was going to play a majority report clip and heckle just lightly, but I can't find it. So probably the best thing for me to do is drink booze and weep quietly inside about my horrible regrets. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Don't know why I put an H on it just there. My name's Jake. Never trust white.